If you love horror movies, you already know that vampires and sharks have a lot in common. They've both existed for millions of years, they rarely age, and they're perfectly engineered to kill. But unlike vampires, sharks are real. And their story goes way back, over 450 million years ago, during the late Ordovician period. That's more than 200 million years before dinosaurs, before trees, and even before bugs were a thing. But here's the twist. The very, very earliest versions of sharks were nothing like the ones we know today. These were small, jawless, armored fish, drifting through warm, shallow seas no more than 30 to 100 feet deep, about the height of a 10-story building. That's incredibly shallow compared to today's oceans, which can plunge over 36,000 feet at their deepest point. Back then, the world's oceans were young, and so were its predators. Among the earliest of these ancient fish was Elagestolepis, a primitive scale-covered creature that swam through what is now prehistoric Russia during the Silurian and Devonian periods. It's the oldest confirmed shark we've ever discovered, and although we've never found a full skeleton, the fossilized scales tell us it belonged to a group of early shark-like animals. Despite their awkward little bodies and complete lack of jaws, these guys managed to survive the Ordovician-Silurian extinction, Earth's first mass extinction, which wiped out 85% of marine species by basically turning the planet into a giant freezer. It all started when ancient plants began pulling carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, which cooled the planet dramatically. Sea levels dropped, temperatures plunged, and the shallow oceans where most marine life thrived began to vanish. But somehow, these proto-sharks held on, quietly floating through the chaos, outlasting creatures far more complex than themselves. By the late Devonian, around 375 million years ago, Earth looked nothing like it does today. Most continents were underwater, flooded by warm, shallow seas. The planet was practically a swamp world, buzzing with armored fish, primitive corals, and weird reef systems. And in these murky waters, sharks were no longer just survivors. They were evolving and fast. And among those primitive sharks was Cladocelach, sleek, simple, and absolutely deadly. At around 6.6 feet long, it was one of the first true sharks to dominate the waters of what is now prehistoric North America. With a torpedo-shaped body, powerful tail fins, and a lightweight cartilage skeleton, Cladocelach was built for sudden ambushes, striking like an underwater missile. But it wasn't just fast, it was weird. Unlike modern sharks, it didn't have claspers, the organs male sharks use for reproduction. That means Cladocelach probably reproduced by just releasing everything into the water and hoping for the best. Even stranger was its teeth. Cladocelach didn't replace them. Unlike modern sharks, which constantly shed and replace their teeth like a conveyor belt of carnage, Cladocelach didn't have that luxury. Its teeth were relatively few, and there's no evidence it could regenerate them, so every bite had to count. And while today's sharks have evolved hypermobile jaws capable of unhinging and protruding outward like a spring-loaded trap, Cladocelach's jaws were rigid, locked into its skull. That means no dramatic bite extension, no sudden jaw-drop strikes, just a direct, fixed chomp. But as efficient as Cladocelach was, it wasn't the only predator in town, and it certainly wasn't at the top of the food chain. That honor went to the terrifying Dunkleosteus, a placoderm armored in thick, bony plates and built like a medieval tank. While older estimates suggested it reached lengths of up to 33 feet, more recent studies place the largest species between 13 to 16 feet, still colossal for its time. Weighing over 4 tons, this apex predator had the mass of a hippo wrapped in steel and the bulk of a pickup truck stacked on top of an SUV. Instead of teeth, it had these 2 pairs of razor-sharp bony blades that acted like shears, slicing through prey in a matter of milliseconds. This guy was basically the Thanos of the Devonian Ocean, snapping jaws instead of fingers and erasing species from existence one bite at a time. Its diet included smaller placoderms, armored fish, and yes, the earliest sharks wasn't an exception. For millions of years, it terrorized the Devonian oceans. But around 375 million years ago, the world entered a death spiral known as the Late Devonian Extinction, a slow-motion collapse triggered by ocean anoxia, when deep waters lost their oxygen, likely due to massive algal blooms and climate shifts. Coral reefs crumbled, food chains broke down, and by the time it was over, nearly 75% of marine species were gone, and Dunkleosteus went with them, one of evolution's most terrifying dead ends. Which we should probably be grateful for, because if this armored nightmare was still around, your beach days would be a lot shorter. That aside, sharks like Cladosilaki and Stethocanthus, which is instantly recognized for its obviously bizarre anvil-shaped dorsal fin and strange patches of tiny tooth-like structures on its head that may have been used in mating displays or defense. Simorium, a close relative of Stethocanthus that glided through the prehistoric waters of what is now the United States and Russia. And then there's Ctenocanthus, a lesser-known but widespread genus whose fossilized remains have been unearthed everywhere from the Cleveland Shale of Ohio to the Bloyd Formation in Arkansas, even as far as South America. While many early lineages, including other early jawed fish and less adaptable shark-like species, did not make it through. These guys survived likely because they were generalists or lived in more adaptable niches. If we classify most extinction events as disasters, then the Permian-Triassic extinction was an apocalypse. 252 million years ago, Earth faced the most devastating extinction event in its history, the Permian-Triassic extinction, which you probably know as the Great Dying. This wasn't a reset. It was a hard shutdown, an extinction so complete it nearly unplugged life itself. Triggered by massive Siberian volcanic eruptions that lasted nearly 1 million years, the event dumped enough carbon dioxide into the atmosphere to raise global temperatures by over 8 degrees Celsius. That's like turning the entire planet into a feverish greenhouse, 3 times hotter than the modern-day Sahara, and doing it across every continent and ocean. To put that into perspective, the average temperature in the Sahara today hovers around 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. But during the Permian-Triassic extinction, global average temperatures are believed to have soared well above 40 degrees Celsius in many regions, making vast parts of the Earth practically uninhabitable. Yet somehow, through all that chaos, the heat, the acidic oceans, the vanishing oxygen, sharks didn't just survive. They adapted. They thrived. Some of the survivors, like Hybodontiforms, a diverse group of small to medium-sized sharks with dual dorsal fins and sharp, clutching teeth built for a varied diet, and Xenocanthus, an odd, freshwater-adapted shark with an eel-like body and a distinctive spine jutting from the back of its head, were uniquely equipped to handle the hostile, low-oxygen conditions of post-extinction oceans. With many megapredators like the Dunkleosteus, Acanthodes, and Pterygotus wiped out, sharks basically rose from the ashes of extinction and took control of the seas. This was when Mother Nature started to get creative, or maybe terrifying, because one of her first ideas was Helicoprion, a predator so strange it had a buzzsaw for a jaw. This was one of the ocean's first true nightmares. Imagine a long, slender, torpedo-shaped fish stretching up to 25 feet in length, slicing through the Permian oceans with this. Biomechanically, Helicoprion was a precision killer. Its jaw wasn't built to crush, it was built to slice and spiral. Think of it like a circular saw inside its mouth, designed for tearing through soft-bodied prey like ancient squid and boneless fish. No crunch, just a clean, coiled execution. And this buzzsaw beast wasn't just lurking in one corner of the ocean. It literally went global. Though it prowled the warm, shallow coastal waters of ancient seas, particularly those that would become Western North America and Russia, fossils of Helicoprion have been uncovered in over 8 other countries. Over 50% of known fossils come from Idaho's Phosphoria Formation. This kind of fossil dominance is literal proof that Helicoprion didn't just survive the chaos of the Permian-Triassic extinction. It thrived in it for nearly 20 million years after the Permian extinction. That's crazy. But it seemed nature wasn't done reshuffling the deck just yet. After millions of years of dominance, even the weird and wild had to face a new trial. Around 201 million years ago, Earth braced for yet another mass extinction, one that would once again wipe the slate clean and hand sharks an even bigger role in the oceans to come. This is the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, a devastating point in time where massive volcanic eruptions tore through the supercontinent Pangaea, releasing oceans of carbon dioxide and flooding the skies with toxic gases. Global temperatures soared. Ocean acidification returned, An estimated 80% of marine species vanished, including plenty of early marine reptiles and large predatory fish. And yet, sharks once again swam right through the apocalypse. While many species perished, several rugged shark groups, like Hybotis, Paleospinax, and Polyacrotus, endured. These weren't headline-grabbing monsters, but they were highly adaptable. Hybotis, for example, had both sharp teeth for grabbing prey and flat teeth for crushing shells, a kind of prehistoric Swiss Army knife. It likely roamed warm, coastal seas not too different from the shallow tropical waters we know today. But here's the twist. With so many of their competitors wiped out, sharks stepped into the power vacuum. What came next wasn't just survival, but 110% expansion. A boom in shark diversity followed, basically laying the foundation for most of the modern sharks we see today. And here's the thing. The mass extinction that ended the age of the dinosaurs didn't just wipe the slate clean, it reshuffled the deck. And while most marine reptiles and giant predators vanished, some sharks didn't just survive, they evolved, adapted, multiplied, and over millions of years they transformed into apex predators so advanced, they still dominate our oceans today. Take the requiem sharks, for example. These sharks trace their roots back over 100 million years, during the late Cretaceous. Their ancestors swam alongside mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, patrolling warm, shallow coastal waters. Early members of the group were likely smaller, more streamlined, and adapted to tropical marine environments where agility was more important than brute strength. Over time, requiem sharks became larger, faster, and more intelligent. Their snouts shortened for better maneuverability, and their senses sharpened, especially their ampullae of Lorenzini, which allow them to detect the faintest electrical signals from prey. Today, this family includes some of the most dangerous and recognizable sharks on Earth, like tiger sharks and bull sharks. Tiger sharks are equipped with powerful, serrated teeth that can slice through bone and crunch through turtle shells like paper. Their stomachs, practically indestructible. They can digest license plates, tires, and even suits of armor. That's why they're known as the garbage cans of the sea. That's if you don't already know. Bull sharks, on the other hand, are the ultimate opportunists. With specialized kidneys and salt-regulating glands, they can seamlessly switch between saltwater and freshwater, swimming hundreds of miles up rivers and even into lakes. From the Amazon to the Mississippi, no water is truly safe with these guys around. But if requiem sharks are the street fighters of the sea, brutal, adaptable, and everywhere, then mackerel sharks are the high-performance assassins. Precision-tuned, cold-blooded killers built for speed and strength. This group, known scientifically as lamniforms, includes legends like the great white and the short-fin mako. Sharks so advanced they might as well have evolved in a wind tunnel. But their bloodlines are ancient. We're talking nearly 190 million years old, tracing all the way back to the Jurassic period, when dinosaurs were just getting comfortable. These early sharks were already formidable predators at the time, but it was in the wake of the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event that they truly exploded in diversity. The great white shark, for example, has evolved into a very dangerous mega-predator, with jaws strong enough to crush a sea lion in a single bite, and teeth so sharp and constantly replaced, they operate like conveyor belts of death. But their most advanced fear is their warm-bloodedness, or more precisely, regional endothermy. This allows them to keep their brains, eyes, and muscles warm, even in freezing waters. That means sharper vision, faster reflexes, and more powerful attacks in conditions where other sharks would slow down. Then there's the mako, the fastest shark alive. Sleek, torpedo-shaped, and clocking in at over 60 kilometers per hour, it is basically a missile with fins. Its streamlined body and heat-retaining muscles make it a blur in blue water, and unlike most sharks, it can leap completely out of the ocean in pursuit of prey. Lamniforms were among the few survivors that were able to turn prehistoric design into what we now see as modern perfection. If evolution had a sense of humor, it probably created the hammerhead shark just to mess with us. At first glance, it looks like something out of a science fiction comic. Eyes sticking out from the ends of a massive, flattened head like headlights on a spaceship. But make no mistake, this strange design isn't a flaw. It's a masterstroke of evolution. one that's been perfected over tens of millions of years. The hammerhead, or Sphyrnidae, didn't always look this way. It is relatively younger compared to other sharks, evolving about 20 to 25 million years ago. But its earliest ancestors, dating back to the Eocene period, about 50 million years ago, had more modest, compact heads. But generation after generation, nature widened the hammer, pushed the eyes outward, and enhanced the shark's ability to sense, see, and hunt like no other predator in the ocean. Today, hammerheads are proof that looking weird sometimes means winning the evolutionary game. And if the hammerhead gives you chills, wait till you meet the monster that invented your fear of deep water. In my recent video, The Sea Monster That Created Thalassophobia, we dive into a creature so massive, so disturbing, that just the thought of it lurking in the black depths is enough to keep people out of the ocean. Trust me, it's not just the sharks you need to worry about. Kindly like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And as always, I'm DM. See you in the next one.